Welcome to Living 4D with Paul Chek. Today, Paul is speaking with one of the founders of Total Gym, Tom Campanaro.
Hi, everybody. Did you know that Total Gym is the most successful home gym ever sold on TV and one of the most essential exercise tools I used in my physical therapy clinic? I've been teaching people about the benefits and methods of applying Total Gym for rehab and general health and fitness since 1988. And today you get the pleasure of meeting Tom Campanaro, one of the founders of Total Gym and a longtime business mentor to Penny, myself, and the Chek Institute. In this very informative interview, Tom Campanaro shares his early life in competitive bodybuilding and how steroid use ultimately led him to leaving the sport due to a values clash. His interest was in the genuine pursuit of health and fitness. Total Gym's living philosophy, mission, vision, and values, and what ultimately led to one of the most successful exercise enterprises on the planet that is still going strong today. How Total Gym is used for personal fitness as well as comprehensive rehabilitation from pre- and post-surgical intervention and management all the way to being a great fitness option for many great athletes and movie stars of today, as well as the rest of people. How Total Gym's success has only increased due to the huge demand for home fitness solutions in the COVID environment. My thoughts on the use of Swiss balls and medicine balls to round out or complement the Total Gym, what Tom feels is essential for everyone to be healthy, and Tom's comments on the future trends in exercise and healthcare over the next 5, 10, and 20 years. Total Gym's special discount for Living 4D listeners that want an excellent home gym solution that the whole family can enjoy. Regardless of who you are, there is great, simple, practical information in this podcast that can help you in your business, gaining clarity on your values, and how to keep yourself healthy and fit even in the COVID environment. Enjoy Tom Campanaro and the Total Gym success story. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Living 4D with Paul Chek. Today I have a very exciting, interesting, highly experienced, wise guest who's been a long-time friend of mine, a mentor of mine, taught me a lot of things, helped me a lot when I was in trouble. I've been in trouble a few times. Tom Campanaro, welcome to Living 4D with Paul Chek.
Paul, how are you? Good to see you, man.
Me too.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we were just talking about the fact we haven't seen each other in a while.
Always look forward to your hugs.
Yeah, good. I love giving them to you.
Yeah,
man.
I know it.
Yeah, so, just for those of you listening, Tom Campanaro is the founder of Total Gym, and most of you would know Total Gym. Total Gym, I think, do you guys still have the most successful infomercial?
Yeah, still running 24
Well, it's
years.
still running. I didn't realize
24 years.
24 years.
Yeah. We've morphed into some short form, but for the most part, the infomercial's still running. Yeah.
That's great. And so I was on one of them, wasn't I? Years ago.
Yes, I think you were, and I think you did a whole program series.
Yeah.
For Total Gym.
Yeah. And I was on one with I think Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris still on there. Yeah.
I don't know if Christy Brinkley was on that one or not. Yeah. It was back in that day.
It was, whatever day that was.
I had hair, so it was a while ago.
I don't know that you've ever had hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the days when I was training Jesse. Jesse is Tom's son, who used to be an athlete that I did some conditioning for and conditioned him up for football. And
hey, we used to do that, all those medicine ball trainings out on the field when he was
15.
Even younger, I think.
Yeah, and he's in several of my videos, too.
Yeah, he did. I used to do that stuff, too. It was great. It was awesome.
And yes, you were out there with us, and your company, Tom Campanaro, sponsored many of my videos and helped me grow the Chek Institute and get the information out there. And
well, it's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Good stuff.
I'm very grateful for that. So I was just discussing with Tom before we started recording. We started working together 33 years ago in 1988.
Wow.
And I don't remember how it was that I first found out about Total Gym. For some reason,
you were a therapist over in the Golden Triangle.
Yeah, well, I actually was coming to you guys before then. I left sports and orthopedic rehabilitation in 92 and started my Golden Triangle rehab at the end of 92. But I came to you in 88 when I just started working at Sports and Orthopedic Physical Therapy, which is on I-8, right where the 805 overpass is.
Okay.
And they may have had a Total Gym there. I don't know. But I was studying with people like Gary Gray and a number of people in the rehab circles. So something led me to
we used to be in the back of all of his chain reaction seminars. I bet you that was the flow.
Yeah. And so when I found out you guys were in San Diego, I thought, I got to go meet these guys because I can really see the application for the Total Gym. And over the years, I've had countless Total Gyms in Golden Triangle Rehabilitation. I had 2 that were going almost day and night nonstop because I was using, I found the Total Gym very, very effective in my rehab environment, specifically for what's classically called non-weighted exercise. You remember when unweighted exercise got popular? And
unloading.
I trained with Bjorn Svensson in Norwegian medical exercise therapy, which is a very comprehensive approach to it. And so once I really understood the science of how to enhance joint function and regenerate cartilage and repair tendons and work with injured discs and things like that, then it was obvious to me that the Total Gym was just an absolutely critical tool.
It's funny you mentioned that because when we started the product in 74, here was this simple, I call it a simple, stupid incline plane, unbeknownst to us, this major change in rehab, unloading the body weight. We had a natural unloading device that was calibrated to gravity. And unless gravity changed, we were never going to change. And all of a sudden, the world opened up, which was really a fascinating experience. Luck, it's luck, when you talk about where does luck fit into our life and our businesses, that was our big first, I think, lucky point. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know if I ever told you about this, but I'd like to share this story for the listeners on the podcast. As you know, I've worked with too many of the most famous athletes in the world and sports teams and Olympic committees to even remember them all anymore. But do you remember Dr. Charles Rowland, an orthopedic surgeon?
Sounds familiar.
He was
in
very,
San Diego?
Yeah, San Diego, very successful. Somebody I really loved. He was an excellent surgeon, and his wife owned a physical therapy clinic, Melinda Rowland, and she was a craniosacral therapist and a physical therapist. But, and I rehabbed Charles Rowland from some bad back issues that were really screwing him up and stopping him from being able to operate, and we became very good friends. And he referred me. He was my biggest referral source. But he worked with a lot of elite athletes, and he had brought a doctor into his practice who had just left New York, and he was the Yankees, I think it's the Yankees doctor, surgeon. And Charles was getting ready to retire, so he wanted to bring in a big wig that could kind of handle those, elite athlete cases. And so I got referred from Charles Rowland. I believe the guy was a pitcher from the Yankees, and he had just had shoulder surgery, and it was his third shoulder surgery for the same problem, which is classical in the rehab world. But anyhow, the guy came to me, and the first day was evaluation, and then I put him through a 1-hour training session on the Total Gym, and he had a visit with his doctor the next day. So I'd only seen him twice. The first one was the evaluation. The second one was his first session. And he was just over the moon because all the previous rehab he'd done, they just wouldn't let him do anything for like the first couple of months except, rubber band exercises. And, pro athletes go crazy when that happens to them. And so he was high as a kite. He's like, oh, wow, you're the first guy that could ever. He says, I'm sweating, I'm breathing. This is amazing. So he went back to his doctor. And he's sitting in the doctor's office, and the doctor said, well, how's it going with the new therapist? And he said, oh, it's amazing. He said, this guy put me through an hour's workout on my first session, and I feel great. And before he could even finish his sentence, the doctor said, what's this guy's phone number? And so he told him my phone number, and the doctor called me up. My secretary came to me and said, there's a doctor on the phone, and he sounds quite upset.
I was going to say, he probably yelled at you.
He screamed at me.
Oh, God.
He just chewed me out. And there was other people in the room when I picked up the phone, and I had the phone like a foot away from my head. He was yelling so loud, what the fuck are you doing? do you realize this guy just had surgery a few days ago?
Yeah.
What are you doing working? He just went crazy. And I waited till he stopped, and I said, you work for Charles Rowland, don't you? He said, yes. I said, you realize I'm the guy that rehabbed Charles Rowland's back when he couldn't even stand up or walk and nobody knew what to do with him. And I've rehabbed countless athletes for Charles Rowland. And do you think Charles Rowland would refer him to me if I didn't know what I was doing? And then he goes, what the hell? I don't care what is going on. You can't do that to someone. I said, I'll tell you what. What did the patient tell you about his feeling and how he's doing right now? Big, long pause. He goes, well, he says he's doing excellent. I said, well, why are you so upset? I said, isn't that what you're after? And so I said, I think the best thing for you to do is come down to my physical therapy clinic so I can show you what I do. Well, he did. And so I showed him, and I showed him how I use the Total Gym and my unweighting systems. I invented my own unweighting systems and had two of them, one for cervical and one for lumbar. I had, medical grade pulley systems. And so I said to him, this is how I do it. This is how I calculate the load. And the guy was blown away. He said, in all my years as a surgeon, I've never seen anything like this. He said, you just taught me a lot. I'm sorry for yelling at you. And he was forever happy to refer me clients. But the point was he didn't realize that I was using the Total Gym, and he didn't realize that I was exercising the guy, but I wasn't trashing his arm. I was exercising the rest of his body. So I was having him doing squats and working his good arm to bring his hormones up and enliven him and increase his circulation and pump fluids through his body to get toxins out and stimulate growth and development. And so when he saw what I was doing, then he could put the picture together. Yep. But he jumped to the conclusion that I had exercised this guy's surgical arm for an hour. So it really, and a lot of doctors, of course, as you can imagine, would freak out just like that. And eventually.
Well, in the olden days like that, you're right. We would show the Total Gym to people and it would just go over their head. It was too simple, Paul.
Yes.
That was the challenge we had. It was so versatile, so safe, and like you say, calibrated, but so simple that they couldn't grasp it.
That's
for
the problem.
years.
That's
for
the
years.
problem. That's the problem with God, Tom. So simple you can't see what's right in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so Tom, you've been at this with Total Gym how many years?
Well, since 74, so
that's a long time.
40, is that 45?
That's since I was 16, yeah.
45 years, something like that.
59, so.
Yeah. I'm 37, so I'm beating you there.
Yeah, you're 37. Yeah. It's amazing.
37, 73, 37, whatever.
Yeah. When you look in the mirror, everything's reversed.
Yeah, we all walk around with that 25-year-old brain, but body gets older. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, you got to enjoy the process, right?
Amen.
The fruit ripens, and we love aged wine because it tastes better. And I don't know, I'm sure you know this because you're a wise man, but I mean, I'm obviously not the 35-year-old I once was, although I can still do 8 single-arm chin-ups and put the hammer on the young guys, which freaks them out. But at the same time, I actually enjoy aging, and I feel that I've learned to be a lot more efficient, and I've learned a lot about how to solve problems of every type. So I just find that my life is much easier to live at 59 than it was at any other time.
It's interesting.
I don't feel like I have to work. I guess the analogy I would give is if you spent your lifetime taking people down the Colorado Rapids, you'd get to the point where you had done enough trips down the river where you had an intimate relationship with it, and you could get through even grade 5 rapids with minimal risk because you had such a skillful relationship with the process and knew how to read the rapids, right? Yep. But when you're young, you're, as I say, young, dumb, and full of cum, and you think you can control the river and the rapids, and the next thing you know, you're drowning. And I just feel like I'm much better of a boatman in at this age, and I'm sure you have to be too. Yeah,
I think for me, because I'm older than you, but I think for me, there's a lot less clutter in my thought process.
Yeah.
And you were saying like solving problems and all that. What I've noticed is that the problem solving comes a lot faster now because I've gotten rid of a lot of the clutter and a lot of the I'm going to do it versus allowing
Yes.
the spiritual side of life to do it.
And I think we also learn what's really important. In other words, what is worth getting worked up about or nervous about or afraid of, and what's not worth it. It takes a while to filter that out accurately and say, okay, sounds like a big issue, but it isn't.
No,
there's
really nothing that's a big issue, when you think about it.
Yeah, well, you can,
or not think about it. Maybe that's the thing.
That's the secret.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
Exactly.
But you have to think about it until you learn not to think about it.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Because we start with a pretty empty head as a kid, right?
Yeah, and then it really gets cluttered, doesn't it?
And it goes complex till it just about kills you.
Yeah.
And you finally reach the point where you go, okay, that's enough. I've got to find a better way because my ego is not nearly the best driver. I've found the hard way.
Oh, yeah, that's the deal. I mean, as you get older, I think if you grasp the understanding that you got to get rid of that ego, and if you get rid of that ego and that little guy back there that's always talking to you, things come a lot easier, a lot smoother, and a lot clearer.
Yeah,
so,
and you also know that the part of you that guides you is a far better part of you to listen to when you need real guidance than the ego ever has been.
Oh, goodness, yes. Well, you said something, I don't know how many years ago, we were talking about, spiritual development and all that. And you said something I'll never forget. You said, you know what? We're the only society that people at a certain age don't shift into the spiritual development of their life like other cultures, and that really sat with me thinking, you're right. This culture here, they avoid it.
They do.
They avoid it.
And once people start getting up into their 50s, they try to go to surgeons and do all sorts of pills and wraps and tricks and skin pulls to make themselves look like 20-year-olds again.
Yeah.
And, crash their businesses, buy 2 Corvettes and leave their wife and their kids and, and just go completely backwards.
Yeah, exactly. And then they really get into some issues down the road because then they're alone or they're void.
Yeah.
It's really void.
And they haven't learned to connect to their heart.
No, they haven't.
That's
True.
why in spiritual circles it said the longest journey you'll ever take is only a foot from your head to your heart. But it might take you many lifetimes to get down there.
This is true. This is true.
Hi, everybody. Do you guys want to know one of my secret weapons that helps me avoid being sick or feeling run down? It's Organifi Immunity. Organifi Immunity is a super high quality, certified organic drink mix that provides daily immune support and supports overall immunity. Organifi Immunity contains whole food vitamins C and D, whole food zinc, mushroom beta-glycans, and provides only natural sweetness. Not only will you support your immune system, but you'll also get on-the-go superfoods in a delicious orange blend that is great for you and your kids, and everyone will love it. My family and I love it, and it's easy as tearing off the top of the package and mixing it with high-quality drinking water, and you can rest a little easier knowing that you're enhancing your immune system, which is probably a good idea now that so many people are spending so much time indoors, breathing indoor air, and lacking sun exposure. Why not enjoy a little immune insurance while getting certified organic nutrients, superfoods, and great taste that's quick, easy, and effective? To get your Organifi Immunity and shop their amazing product line with your Living 4D discount, go to organifi.com and save 20% on any and all of their products using the code capital C, capital H, capital E, capital K 20. That's Chek 20 during checkout. Enjoy Organifi. Tom, I'd love it if you can share a biographical sketch of what inspired you to be a bodybuilder and how that passion ultimately led to Total Gym, because I've seen pictures of you when you were a competitive bodybuilder. You were a stud.
Yeah, I guess I was. Huh?
Yeah, you were. You were built, man.
Well, where it really started was when I was young, let's say in my early, 12, 13 years old. I'm a little guy. I mean, I'm only, well, like I say, I grew a half inch in the last couple of months, but I've been shrinking ever since.
Yeah.
So I was 5'6", and so being small, there wasn't a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
So I got into sports. I played football in high school. And then I had a critical motorcycle accident when I was 16. I was driving down the road, car turned in front of me, hit it, went through the windshield, ended up on the side of the street with my leg all broken and everything, and waking up in the hospital, getting the last rites, and coming through that. And it was the old school, Paul, where they put the weighted string on your leg.
Oh,
to
yes,
put
yes, your traction.
And you laid in the hospital for 6 months.
Nice. That'll give you some meditation time.
Oh, won't it? And atrophy time.
Yes.
Atrophy time. So I came out of that. I couldn't play football anymore because of the injury. So I got into weightlifting, into bodybuilding. But in the bodybuilding in the 60s, you didn't want anybody to know you were a bodybuilder.
No, it was too out there.
It wasn't really the greatest thing to say what you were doing. So, and for me, it was for my own personal benefit. So I got into competition. I was blessed enough to have a trainer. I don't know if you ever met my trainer, John Biselli.
Yes, I met him at one of your Christmas parties. Yeah, neat guy.
Unbelievable guy. And, he had a couple of themes, and some of his themes were quality, not quantity. You're a little guy, Tom. You're never going to be big. If you use the steroids, I'm out of here. So I never did. I never got into the steroids. He was an interesting guy. He was self-taught sculptor, really understood the body and anyway. So he trained me, and we competed from about 65 to 70, 71.
Wow.
And did fairly well. We did fairly well. We were on covers of magazines, and we won certain titles and all that. But it was always for me an accomplishment of whatever goal we had set. It was more important to, grow and accomplish than it was to be, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. And of course, one interesting story in 1970, I took a trip to the West Coast because I grew up on the East Coast in Philadelphia to learn the secrets, Paul. Yeah, I learned the secrets real quick. You're working your legs, you're shooting steroids into your legs. You're working you're doing all kinds of, you're smoking the pot to get an appetite. So I learned the secrets. They were the secrets. These guys were drug addicts. Yeah. I mean, they were
nothing's changed.
So huge. Of course, it's even different now. But, I would go to the gym and I'd work out hard as hell. And these guys would be working out maybe not
a third
of
that.
Yeah. And you'd watch them grow.
Yes.
Anyway, time to get out. Got out in the 70s and said, you know what? I've got to get out of Philly. I can't handle it here. Attitude, weather.
Yeah.
Moved to Florida. I lasted 2 weeks, got out of there, came to Southern California, San Diego. The attitude, the weather, I was done the bodybuilding career, but I had kind of made an interesting pact with God. And I said, look, I need to get out of here. I need to get to Southern California. I want to start my own business. I want to, meet a girl, because I was in a very frivolous lifestyle as a lifeguard and all that. And uncanny as it is, and truthful as it is, within 6 months, I was in San Diego. I had met Joy, and we had started the Total Gym business in September of that year, 1974. And what got me started on Total Gym was I was introduced to the concept, the incline plane concept. Very primitive concept when I saw it. But for whatever reason, to me, it was magic. It was magic. I mean, I had built, like you had said, your pulley systems. I had all this stuff in my garage, and when I saw that simple I thought, wait a minute. I can get on this and I can change the hill and access more weight. I can just change my body position, my hand position, and change the exercise. There's no limit. So we started to develop the product. We had like $3,500, and we started building through a little shop in San Diego and started to show it to all the people I knew in the bodybuilding world. Of course, they just would laugh at it. They'd laugh at it. I would put them on there and just kick because it's very elusive.
That's what they did when I showed them the Swiss ball. They laughed at me. They called me a fag. They said, what are these colored balls? Get them out of the gym.
Yeah, because they're so versatile as we see it, but they're so elusive in that fact you get them on there. Yeah. I can remember one guy, Bill Pearl's gym, big guy, 20-inch arms, what is this thing? Put them on, one incline, put them up a little bit, get them going, unhook the pulley, do some dead weight in the bathroom puking. And, you could manipulate those guys pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think from the very beginning, my passion towards that simple concept was just unwavering. I mean, I just said, someday everybody has got to have a Total Gym.
Well, you pretty much did that.
Well,
pretty much.
5 million.
A lot. That's a lot. That's everybody, Tom.
Okay. But the interesting thing was we were sitting on the beach one day, Doug Marino and I, who started the company, and we were doing, a little bit of weed. And we were coming up with a name. And he came up with the Total Gym name.
Wow.
Which was just brilliant, Total
Where
Gym.
did you first see the concept?
In San Diego.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was it that had
there was a
that?
company here called Dynagym, and they were marketing a really cheap. I always called it a cheap lawn furniture, but they were pyramid selling it, and they got shut down by the FTC in about 2 years because they were ripping people off. But I saw the concept, but it wasn't developed at all, and we took it from there and developed it, and then you'll remember. How old were you in '74?
74, I was 17.
Okay, so this won't relate to you, but there were no cell phones. There were no fax machines.
Well, I remember that, yeah.
There was really no market for fitness equipment. There was Sears with a little pedal bike and a few things here and there, and then eventually there were some stores that started to develop to sell exercycles. You remember the exercycle? Stuff like that. So there was really no way to market this product. And we started at the Del Mar Fair.
Oh, wow.
Remember that? Remember the Del Mar Fair? And we would work out. We would demonstrate. And people would get on it. And
the world's greatest traffic jam.
Exactly. But we started to meet people. So we met a guy. From Loma Linda University. Saw the product. Said, "Hey, you need to come to one of our health fairs." Okay, great. We'll go to the health fair. Long story short, we did a little research and we found out that there was a convention for everything. And we started to do trade shows, and we ended up getting up to 200 trade shows a year with 6 guys.
That's intense.
It's very intense, but we were able to expose ourselves to a vast different disciplines, and that's what got us into the rehab market. I heard about Gary Gray, doing his seminars. I called him up and said, "Hey, is there any way we can maybe be in the back of one of your seminar rooms?" And Gary saw the value of the Total Gym. And for 10 years, we were in the back of his seminars. I can remember when he had 25 people, and he had 35. Then he got up to,
150.
And almost every clinic, there was a paradigm shift in the early 80s away from isokinetic training into more body weight, open chain versus closed chain.
One of the guys who gave the science to drive that movement.
Exactly. And that's what we met you in that era, in that whole closed chain era. And unbeknownst to us, the Total Gym was the perfect closed chain squatting machine
and open chain movements as well. That's the beauty. That's sort of why the name Total Gym is so appropriate, because it is extremely versatile.
It is, and that's the number one reason why people buy it.
And that's why I wanted to work with you guys and did all those videos. And I think there's nothing more powerful than a simple tool with broad application. I mean, think of a hammer. It's very simple, but without one, you really wish you had one.
Hard to put that nail in.
Yeah, if you own a house and you don't have a hammer, you're stuck.
It's very true.
If you own a gym and you don't have good equipment, you don't really have much. A yoga studio.
Talking about that, we started to do the American Physical Therapy Association trade shows. One of the first ones we did, I had the board of directors of the American Physical Therapy Association come up to our booth and look at me and go, "Don't ever come back here again. This is a gimmick. This is a joke. Don't ever come back again." And I thought to myself, these guys are physical. So anyway, 5 years later, we were on the board of directors of the American Physical Therapy Foundation for Research. Obviously, the therapists had come through the
conference,
checks and the closed chain stuff with Gary Gray, and they had finally realized that they were doing a lot of damage with that isokinetic stuff.
Yes.
And we actually became a standard in every clinic that opened up. So today we're probably in 15 or 20,000 rehab centers around the world.
Yeah.
Affecting millions and millions and millions of people going up and down on our product.
Yes.
Which opened the door when we decided to do a mass exposure to the general public via Infomercial. But as you know, back when Infomercial started, anything that ended up on TV like that was just a gimmick, a piece of junk. Here today, won't be around in a year or two.
Yeah. Well, that didn't work for Total Gym.
It didn't. And we were blessed enough to find a company that really had integrity and saw our vision, but still thought 3 years. Tom, if you're here in 3 years, you're going to be lucky. Yeah. I said, no, I think it's more like 10 or 15 years. And of course, we've been the longest running product on TV ever.
I remember reading somewhere that Total Gym was the most successful infomercial exercise product ever, and
by far
grossed the most. You guys were doing well over 100 million.
Well, this is something when I sat there with them, and they had gone through some testing on TV, and it bombed. The test bombed. They were ready to give it up. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Wait. You just spent $1 million with Chuck and Christy and putting this thing together. You can't just walk away from it, So they just tweaked the offer a little bit. And the next thing they had it on there, as little as, they had something on there where people could calculate the price, make a decision, and not call. So they changed that offer. Mm-hmm. They said for as little as X amount per month, and the phone started to ring. So anyway, they had told me that. I said, well, what did you expect to do the first year? Because when they did their test, it showed they were only going to do X, like 25 million. Yeah. I said, what were you expecting to do? They said, we were expecting to do over 100 million the first year. I went, what's wrong with 25?
Yeah.
Right? Well, anyway, they came out of the chute in 1997, and it just blew the phones off the Richter scale. And they did well over 100 million the first year.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
And I think too, part of it was you chose very wisely to have Chuck Norris in there, particularly because of his fame as a martial artist. And,
that's a whole nother story, Paul.
Is it?
For example, we met Chuck Norris in 1977, way before the infomercial. He wasn't a movie star then. He was a martial artist, and he was just getting into the movies and all that. He fell in love with the product, fell in love with it. So for the next, and this will be something for people in business, for the next 20 years now, think of this, next 20 years, we did nothing with Chuck Norris. Other than about every 2 years, we would get a call from his production people. Can you send a Total Gym to some godforsaken jungle in the Philippines or whatever? For 20 years, we did that about every 2 years.
Wow.
And then when we were going to do the infomercial, everybody would ask, well, who uses it? And you were saying like the Yankees, Jeff Torborg at the Yankees, Herm Schneider at the Chicago White Sox. Uh-huh. He had a quote, I would never put any of my $1 million players on anything other than a Total Gym.
Wow, that's great.
Because there's too much risk. Anyway, so we went to Chuck and we said, Chuck, we're thinking about doing an infomercial out to the general public and all that. And he shook his head and he says, gosh, I love your product. I love you guys, but I just can't risk it. It's just too risky because infomercials were
looked at as junk sales.
Yeah. He says, however, if we put together the right team with integrity and the product with integrity, and we said, well, you've known us now for 22 years. We're not going to do anything other than that. And we were lucky enough to find American Telecast. Within our contract, we did all the design work, so they couldn't change a bolt or anything without our approval. So we built a good quality product. They came with Christy Brinkley as a female male. And we did the first infomercial, and it just
skyrocketed.
It blew out, And he's still using it today, 80 years old.
Wow.
Uses it every day.
Wondering how old he is, because you remember you referred him to me when he had hip problems, and I went up to his place in LA, I believe it was, and I worked with him for a few months and helped him through his hip problem. Then he started referring me people. He referred me some huge Christian strongman. The guy can roll steel frying pans with his bare hands, tear the LA phone book in half.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah, massive dude, like 320 pound strongman, which he was a friend of Chuck's. And so I got to know Chuck and worked with him, and he referred me business. And I just think that was one of the catalysts because of him being a famous martial artist. And
absolutely,
I think it gave credibility to the product.
But he had a natural story. In fact, when we used to do the early infomercials, they would put the teleprompter up there, and he is the worst at. You can't script Chuck Norris.
Is that right? How does he do TV shows then?
Well, I'll tell you. So anyway, and I couldn't read the teleprompter. They said, read the. I said, I can't even see the teleprompter. I wore glasses at the time, and I said, why are you scripting Chuck Norris? Yeah. I said, just let him tell him the area you want to get across.
Yeah,
and let him just
talk it.
And boy, when they started to do that, the whole thing changed because it was natural.
So what does he do his TV shows that way too? He just does it off the cuff?
I think pretty much.
He'd have to if he can.
I think they say, here's the scene. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. Go for it.
I don't like being scripted either.
No, I don't either.
I just
not
need
natural.
Bullet points.
Yeah.
Just
exactly.
Muscle activation,
there you
posture.
Go. Exactly.
But as soon as you start putting a bunch of words in there and I have to start thinking about the words, it shuts my flow down.
Yeah, so let him get on the machine and talk. And it was unbelievable. He's a great guy, salt of the earth, super. Just that I call Chuck the on the living room floor kind of guy. Immediately within a second or two, as you know, you feel like you're
Friends with him forever. Yeah.
exactly.
He is very easy to relate to.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. It's funny because, most people would probably not think that, being Texas Ranger and badass dude. They think, you got to be careful with this guy. But no, he's actually very cool.
But he is a badass.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mess with him at 80.
No, yeah, well,
Yeah. But to answer your question, summarize it, I think the passion for the product, the passion for what it does, the simplicity of it, and the value it brings to the user is still there today.
And the company's gone through massive evolution and growth. I remember you said that the infomercial, without any direct mention of the rehab market, pushed the rehab sales up 600%.
Well, I don't know about percentages, but the thing was,
that's what I just remembered you telling me, but I might be wrong.
It could be. Well, we went from, at the beginning of it, of maybe 1,000 or 2,000 locations to now, like I say, over 20,000. The challenge we had, not in the rehab market, because we had started in the rehab market. So they felt proud of the product being successful on TV versus the commercial fitness market that looked at the infomercial as a total scam. We would never put this piece of equipment in our health club. Very interesting dynamic. And we stayed out of the commercial fitness market for 22 years. We launched in 2003 or 4, we launched a concept in the health club market called Gravity.
I remember
which
that,
was
yeah.
multiple total gyms led by a trainer, which really blew up for us all over the world. So,
and I was teaching Chek practitioners from the beginning of the Institute that a total gym was an absolutely essential piece of equipment for your studio or your gym or your clinic or anybody working with, excuse me, people that have any kind of injury is very, very important. And yes, it can be used for fitness, but for me, because I have the access to medicine balls, kettlebells, whatever, the total gym can be used for, if you're in a COVID environment right now, you'd want a total gym.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Sure. Yes.
Because
what can't you do on it?
Well, not only that, by the time you go kit yourself out with a whole gym, you're going to spend a lot more money than you would with a total gym. Yeah. And, if you don't have any training on proper weightlifting and you don't know what you're doing, you can get hurt. Yep, you're not going to probably get yourself hurt on a total gym unless you're just, drinking too much alcohol and smoking too much pot and don't have a brain in your head.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because one of the things that we're seeing now is the life continuum of how the total gym can fit into every aspect. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when Jesse was 4 or 5 years old, trained on total gym, trained medicine balls. As he got into a higher level of athletic participation, it was still a part of his training regimen.
Yeah.
As I got older, I noticed it. I noticed I couldn't lift heavy weights anymore. I've had ankle replacement, 2 shoulders. But what do I work on now every day? Total gyms.
Yeah.
So that ability for it to kind of thread through our life.
Especially too, because the population is now, there's more people above 50 than there are below 50.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect piece of equipment for people in that age category that may not have good enough posture, good enough diet to keep their body free of inflammation, to actually do a lot of high kinetic activity, running, jumping, bouncing. Whereas the total gym is really such a friendly approach to resistance training.
Yeah. Where else can you get stretching while you're getting strength?
Yeah.
While you're improving range of motion and balance.
Yeah.
And just like we were talking earlier today with this whole COVID thing, these underlying challenges that people have, if you've got a blood pressure issue, or if you're overweight, or you've got diabetes, man, you get this virus, man, you're history.
You're high risk. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Hi, you guys. I know you all know that super green powders are good for you if they're made from organic sources and they're processed properly, so the nutrients are there. And that's exactly what Paleo Valley does with their super greens powder. So I brought Autumn Smith in to tell us exactly how she created it and why and what it's going to do for you when you try their amazing organic super greens powder. Autumn, what is the magic you've got here?
Well, like you said, we all need to get more of those micronutrients that you find in fresh fruits and vegetables. And so we've created a powder that you do not have to choke down. It has an absolutely delicious berry lemonade flavor. And the reason that it's different is because A, it is all organic, 23 organic superfood ingredients. And B, it is a very, very gut friendly product, because what I found in my practice is that a lot of people don't do well with cereal grasses. And we know cereal grasses, like wheatgrass, can contain lectins that can be hard on the guts of a lot of people I work with. And so what we did was we created a cereal grass-free alternative. We use high quality, the cleanest, highest quality spirulina on the market, raised in India. And then we added the 22 other organic fresh fruits and vegetables, and the flavor will surprise you. So all you have to do to check it out is go ahead to paleovalley.com. That's PALEOVALLEY.com. And you can use the code CHEK15, that's lowercase CHEK 15 at checkout. My son drinks it every day. We call it his ninja juice, and I sincerely hope your family loves it as much as ours does.
All right, everybody, go paleo green and get rocking. Hope you love it.
How has the whole pandemic environment affected Total Gym?
Well, on the commercial side, it's pretty much shut it down. But except for rehab, rehab's still pretty strong for us all over the world. But on the consumer side, I mean, it's just blown up.
Yeah, I was
it's
just figuring that was going to happen.
Blown up, yeah.
The reason I suspected that was going to happen is because that's what happened to the Institute. It was, coming into this thing, I was like, okay, we're going into a cave without a flashlight here. I have no idea where this is going to take us. It could be a total collapse of the economy. It could be a repeat of the stock market crash in 2007. It could be something completely new and wild. And right at that time is when we were moving into this place, and we were getting hit with all sorts of expenses that were totally surprises, like $100,000+ worth of them. And it was interesting because Gavin said, our CEO said, I think you should do a ad for HLC1 online, because with people being so scared about their health, it might be a good time to offer that to them. And I think I sold 340 or 350 HLC1 online courses in 2 weeks. And it's just been skyrocketing. And the whole institute is just booming. It's just like back in the early days of 2005 when I was like in magazines all over the place, and it was just growing so fast it was blowing my mind. But we're back in this amazing growth spurt because it's interesting. What's happened is we're having the highest number of people come into the Institute that have never had anything to do with health or fitness, making a complete career change.
Exactly, yes.
And many of them have been watching my YouTube videos for 6, 8, 10, 12 years and just realized that's what they want to do for people.
Yeah. Well, the statistics are there's like over 40 to 50 million people in the health club environment. Now, whether they're very active or not, but that's a lot of people. So the point is now that they can't go to the gym, then they say, well, wait a minute, I've got to do something at home. To your point, I personally think that this whole COVID thing has opened up the door to people that maybe were non-exercisers. And that's awesome in my mind. So that's the positive side of the whole thing.
It's kicked people's awareness of, hey, I got to take care of myself, because one thing they've learned is that the people that are getting COVID are the people that were not healthy to begin with.
Yep.
So it's like, I did right at the beginning of COVID, Penny and Gavin asked me to do a video because a lot of people were reaching out to the Institute going, what do I do? What do I do? And they were getting flooded with emails and calls. So I did a video called Your COVID-19 Protection Plan. And suspecting that Big Brother might be watching, I was careful about what I said, even though I'm pretty honest about my feelings, but I didn't in the video because I had already heard from other people that there was people that were already putting stuff up that was telling the truth that were getting shut down very quickly. So what I did is I just talked about it as an opportunistic organism. And I said, it doesn't matter if it's a virus, a bacteria, or a fungi, or a parasite. They're all opportunistic organisms. So there's only one way to protect yourself from an opportunistic organism, and that's to be a healthy person.
Yep.
Because they don't have an opportunity when you have a healthy body and a healthy immune system
to attack you.
So I basically said this is the foundation of being healthy to protect yourself from any of these opportunistic organisms, COVID or otherwise. So, that way I was able to get the message across. And I think it really drove the point home to people that it's really not about the virus. It's about being healthy. Because viruses are always in the end. That's what I said. Look, viruses are always here.
Yep.
Fungi are always here. Parasites are always here. This isn't like some new thing.
No.
The reason this is a big problem is because so many of you are susceptible to an opportunistic organism because you're giving it an opportunity. And I tell them Mother Nature is a ruthless teacher. If you don't have enough vitality to contribute to nature, then she eats you.
Yeah.
She puts you back in the soil. And that's how it works out there. And even though we as human beings have this illusion that we're separate from nature somehow, the laws are very alive in your physiology. you are nature.
Yeah. So as we know, exercise plays a very important. It's a major component.
Absolutely.
In that whole area.
Yeah.
So I think no matter if you're us, Total Gym, or Peloton, or whoever, hey, if you're affecting that aspect of a person's life positively, amen.
Yes.
That's the rewarding factor of what we're doing.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this. It was a long time ago. Because you remember I went bankrupt here trying to start the Chek Institute. People thought I was crazy. Because everything I was teaching went against everything they were doing, from the food to the way they were exercising. So, and because I didn't have a college degree, the Americans repeatedly said, "How can you teach me anything? You don't have a degree."
Yep. Oh, I remember those days.
Yes. So the interesting thing is the Australians and the New Zealanders saw the obviousness of my system. So I spent years not even in the United States because I was getting massive turnouts and doing 4-month tours all over Australia, New Zealand, looping through twice. Then I would go to Europe, and England caught on, and Canada caught everywhere but the United States, right?
We had the same thing early on with gravity. We got sucked offshore. They saw the concept, and people here were, there's a joke.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, the point I was bringing up is I was in New Zealand, and I was talking about Total Gym, and I had pictures of the Total Gym in my slideshows, and some guy comes up to me and goes, "Oh, well, they make the same thing here, and it's cheaper." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he tells me the name of this company. So I ended up actually checking this out and found out that there was a company there that was making knockoff Total Gyms. And I don't know if you remember, but I called you and said to you, "Tom, there's a company here ripping your thing off." And you said, "Yeah, it's happened before. One of them things." And fortunately, they're not that big, or I would have heard about them by now. But I think, I just thought that was interesting that unfortunately, that's pretty common. Kiwis.
But the interesting thing to me that I've always, every time there's a knockoff, and whether they try to knock you off or us off, for some reason they always do it cheaper and inferior.
Yes,
they never come out with a better product.
No,
at more money. You know what I mean?
No.
And the one theme I've always noticed about knockoffs is they never have a passion for the product, only the money. That they can gain.
But the other thing too is psychologically, thieves are always after shortcuts. And to do what we do takes a lot of effort, a lot of commitment, a lot of passion, and a lot of real willingness to make things better and make things good. And people that are knockoff people, they're all about shortcuts,
Amen.
So
amen.
I just thought it was interesting because I remember, because you and I'd become friends, and I got pissed off. I'm like, "You fucking ripping off my buddy,"
right.
I know this. I know the owner of this company. In fact, I'm going to call him. But we've talked about a couple. Who are some of the famous people might know that use the Total Gym other than Chuck Norris, Christy Brinkley, and I know there's a lot of them.
Johnny Depp. We just sold a unit to. Do you remember Batman and Adam?
Batman and Adam?
The show, Batman, the movie, Batman and Adam. Well, Adam just bought a Total Gym. What is his name? I forget his name, but the Batman.
Batman show, yeah.
Yeah, and Adam was his sidekick.
Oh, okay.
On TV. So he just bought a Total Gym last week. He's like in his Oof. He's almost in his 80s, so he ended up with one. Oh gosh, I mean Drew Brees,
Uh,
the football player.
okay, yeah,
You know,
I don't watch TV much.
okay,
So.
well they'll know Drew Brees. He
Yeah.
almost went to the Super Bowl this year again, so he's got one in each of his houses. Um, just off the top of my head, well, Jeff Torborg, a lot of professional athletes that we don't even know that we don't get their name because it goes through their agents.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
A lot of
a
people.
lot of people. Yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, it's great. I think we've kind of touched on this, but what is it that you think has allowed Total Gym to endure such a long run in the industry? And what are Total Gym's mission, vision, and values? In other words, what is it that's the secret of such a long run with so many undulations in the market and all the things you've talked about? And I'd also love to hear from you what I call the living philosophy. What's Total Gym's living philosophy?
Well, to answer your first question, it would have to be passion. Have to be passion for the product.
Yeah.
I mean, when I think of myself and my passion around the product, it's uncanny because it's always just constantly increased as I go through my life span. So I mean, I'm as passionate about that product as I've ever been, and I think because I've seen so many people benefit from it. I mean, we've sold like 5 million of these things. And when you and now we're getting kids who grew up with it come and say, I got to have a Total Gym. I mean, I'm 40 years old. I'm overweight. I mean, and they do that. So I think passion is what keeps you through it, because if you run into a problem, whether it be a recession or financial woes or whatever, if you're passionate about something, it carries you right through those
It does,
things.
yeah.
Totally. As far as our vision, and our vision has always been to make a positive impact in the people we come in contact with, not just through the product, but for example, the UPS guy. We want to make a positive impact in that person, how we treat that person.
Yes.
And I think that's flowed through even the company that does our infomercial back in Philadelphia, who we've worked with now for 25 years. It's almost like they have exactly the same mission and vision as we do.
Yeah.
Treat people with integrity. The customers is important. I mean, they will go as far as, if a person has a problem with the product, they'll say, you know what, we're going to send you a new one, no charge, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So I think it's been integrity, it's been passion, and it's been as things change, and they have changed over 45 years. We've been blessed enough to be able to make the shift to keep the product going, to keep that passion going.
Yeah. It's a amazing story. And for me, it's been interesting to be part of it, right? Because I've been involved for a long time, and I've taught thousands of people how to use a Total Gym. Because we've had over 15,000 people go through our training programs at various levels and rising, So it's really, I think, because Total Gym works on the principle of gravity, you're always dealing with gravity. You're always dealing with gravity. I mean, weightlifting works with gravity too, but when you have something, like you said, as simple as Total Gym that you can do a lot of things with, and because it has a pulley system, it actually doubles as a pulley machine. When I did videos for you guys, I showed people how to do rotator cuff exercises with it.
Exactly.
A lot of things that most people aren't creative enough to think of on their own, from introducing lunge patterns and functional movements, because for me, I wanted to transition people from a supported form of exercise into an upright form of exercise so when injuries heal and you want to get connective tissue stronger. So I was always looking for ways to integrate and make a transition from being horizontal to being vertical and weight bearing. So I began to play with the Total Gym because I was having so many of my patients buy them, right?
Sure.
And that's all they had.
Yeah.
So I was saying, look, here's how you make this transition from being on your back to being vertical to then being fully functional again. And so that is helpful. We've already sort of had our discussion about how COVID affected it.
Yeah.
So Here's a question. A lot of people don't like this question, so forgive me for asking this. Every exercise equipment has its benefits and its limitations, and we've talked a lot about the benefits. If there's any limitations to the Total Gym, what do you think they are? And if somebody wanted to overcome those limitations, what would be a natural complement to that?
So I think the biggest limitation is the creativity of the user.
Right. Yeah.
But from a steel manufacturing product standpoint, the biggest limitation has always been loading the lower body.
Right, just because it's so strong relative
Yeah, I
to
mean,
the
even
upper
at
body.
the high level at 70%, you're only at 70% of your body weight.
Right.
Well, if you're using if you're squatting 200 pounds plus your body weight, that's a lot more weight. So we have a weight bar. You can add weight. You can do that. We played around with bands, but the problem with bands is on the lighter weight equipment, it creates a slingshot effect.
Yes.
And it throws the machine.
Yeah.
Although we do have a machine now called the Jump Trainer, which is loaded with bands, but it weighs 300 pounds.
Oh, right.
And it's for plyometric,
Right.
heavy duty squatting. So that's the biggest limitation, but it can be overcome. It can be overcome by tempo training, as you know. Slow down the resistance, more time under load, go to one leg, do some plyometrics, do some, there's different ways to manipulating.
And I also used to use wobble boards
Yep.
in the kinetic chain, even Swiss balls on the platform, so that they had to deal with instability.
Instability, sure.
And for me, the thing that I taught the Chek practitioners is that the Swiss ball gives you every single thing that gives you the transition, because when you're working on a device that has runners or fixed rails, you're not going to activate your stabilizer system near as much. That's just how the body works. So I've always told people, look, if you take the Total Gym and the Swiss ball, you've got the whole gym.
Yep, exactly.
And, if a Swiss ball is like $35, right? And it's another one of those crazy tools that hardly people, when I brought that thing to the exercise industry, nobody had a clue what it was or how to use it, No. And I also had athletes laugh at me, and I say, okay, I will bet you within 6 minutes, I can make you cry on that ball.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I even had elite gymnasts that I could just take to the edge of themselves on a Swiss ball. But I really felt that by using an object like a Swiss ball that it puts more of the effort into the stabilizer system, because it moves constantly. So when you take something that's unstable, you get the stabilizer training, and you couple it with a Total Gym where you got your prime mover training, and now you meet in the middle, and you got pretty much a bulletproof combination.
Of course, when you get into the kneeling or standing position on the board, which I shouldn't mention standing, but you get into pretty unstable environments.
Yes, you do. Yeah, and
but
that's
not like a Swiss ball. You're right.
Yeah, well, as you know, you saw the videos I made for you. I put a lot of those exercises in for people that wanted to push their athletic ability up, and most people naturally want to do that themselves, right? When you get to a certain level of fitness, you're looking for a way to push it to the next level.
Right.
For a lot of people, it's just adding more weight. But when I was doing my rehab clinics, I was working with, X Games athletes, professional tennis players, race car drivers, fighter jet pilots, people that needed to have an extension of the balance and the coordination challenge, more so than they needed more weights on them.
But you had to get them through that period where they were ineffective.
Absolutely.
No matter what level of athlete you are, when you're injured, man, you are compromised.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So to answer your question, I don't think there's a limitation on the Total Gym in the rehab environment, other than really the knowledge of the user.
Yeah.
I think out in the general marketplace, where it really excels is maybe the person that's really never had exercise in their lifestyle.
Yes.
We can make a major impact there, keep them safe, keep them supported, and give them that, that flexibility, strength, balance, muscle conditioning.
Yeah. And I think now, because it's evolved so much with regard to the menu of what people can be made aware of. I mean, back when I was doing stuff with you guys, the amount that people knew about was limited, which is why I said, let me blow this thing open.
Very limited.
There's a million things that people don't realize they can do with this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, everybody. Leaky gut syndrome is one of the most common inflammatory conditions that not only really seriously hampers our digestion, but leads to a wide variety of health problems, from cognitive dysfunction to low energy to bad skin problems, pimples, rashes. The list of symptoms that can come from leaky gut syndrome is very, very long, and it's often misdiagnosed, and people go down all sorts of rabbit holes treating symptoms but not really getting to the cause. The most common 3 causes of leaky gut syndrome are stress, just too much stress in your life, which these days is really common for people. Next is the side effects of medical drugs, and about 85% of the world population is on prescribed medical drugs. And the third is consuming alcohol. And whenever stress levels rise, medical drug consumption and alcohol consumption go up, increasing gut permeability and leading to lots of health problems and energy deficiencies, and people just feeling lousy when they really need to have the energy to respond to life more effectively. But we have a phenomenal solution for you, which is Leaky Gut Guardian, made by Bioptimizers. I brought Wade Lightheart in to tell us how it works and why we should use it. Wade, what is special about Leaky Gut Guardian, and why should we all be using it?
Well, researchers from Harvard and Johns Hopkins say that over 70% of your immunity is from the gut, and about 80% of the population is suffering from a permeability where basically the bad guys are pooping in your blood.
Yes.
The bottom line is Leaky Gut Guardian does 4 different things. It eliminates bad guys, it seals the gut, it replenishes the right probiotics that kind of give you the feel-good probiotics and provides those feel-good probiotics that make the neurotransmitters in the body. It contains a unique patented formula that contains IGY Max, which serves as the patch. We actually have 2 PhDs in biofilm who are testing this product, and the results are extraordinary to wipe out the bad guys, fix and patch up the gut so that you get the nutrients you want without the waste from these pathogenic bacteria. It is truly extraordinary, and if you mix that vanilla version that we have inside your, espresso coffee with your fats,
yes,
makes a beautiful vanilla latte. Tastes great, and of course, we also have a chocolate carnivore, we call it, for people who want the collagen and bone broth boosted on that one. That's for that one, and of course, the vegetarians choose the vanilla. Of course, you don't have to be a vegetarian to love the vanilla.
No, absolutely. So it's very, very exciting. My wife, Penny, actually somehow managed to get that out before I could get a hold of it. But she's working on that and healing her gut, and she tells me that it's an excellent product. So I'm really excited, and she never gives compliments unless compliments are due. If she doesn't like a product, she'll tell me. So right from my own family, I have great evidence that Leaky Gut Guardian is the real deal. So why not give yourself not only some healing, but even if you feel great, some protective measures. Keep the right supplement coming into your body, keep the right bacteria. And the PhDs in biofilm, just so you guys are clear, that's the gut barrier you're talking about. So
Correct.
they have the formulators have PhDs or doctorate degrees in the science of the gut barrier. So the product is developed by people that know exactly what they're doing, is what you're really saying.
100%. All of our products are made with the highest level of research, the experts in their field, combining with the highest quality products to ensure that it delivers on the promises, and everything's backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee.
You can get Leaky Gut Guardian at leakygutguardian.com/living4d. Put in Paul 10, that's capital PAUL 10, for a 10% discount off this and any other Bioptimizers products. That's leakygutguardian.com/living4d. And at the end, Paul, capital PAUL 10, to get 10% off. I love Bioptimizers products. I use them every day, and I'm confident that you will love them too. Enjoy. You've been in business a long time, and you've navigated a lot, and you've helped me navigate a lot of situations where I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't know what to do now. I better go talk to Tom. Fortunately, every time I did, you gave me good advice. Thank you.
I'm glad I could.
That's why I've my name for you is the father that I never had.
Oh, God.
Tom always gets me through the trouble. And Penny's always greatly appreciated you and Joy's advice as well. In fact, in the early days when I started my business, Joy did all my marketing
all your
pieces
marketing,
for me.
that's right.
And that
all
was
your brochures.
That was when Jesse was just a little child.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah, so it's been a journey. There was a question I wanted to ask you. Oh, yes. One of the things that I think is important that I want to hear from you about, because you just made a very important point. The limitation of the Total Gym was the creativity and the knowledge of the user. How important has creativity been for you with regard to the success and the durability of your business?
I've been blessed, really. I don't know why God has blessed me so much, but He's always blessed me with being able to kind of see what's coming, or when it comes, what to do with it. So, you know, if I would run into a roadblock, as you know, I'd run into a roadblock. I'd always look at that as that challenge is what's going to help us grow to the next level.
Yeah.
It's not going to defeat me now. It's going to, and if I can get on the other side of that, well, then then the horizon is clear. So, creativity. Definitely, creativity is a God thing for me. It just is. Because you look at what He's created in the universe, and you look at us, and I think if the key is, how do you tap into that? How do you tap into that?
Yeah, and that's really, for me, where the spiritual practice comes in, is quieting the mind. And when we're using the word God, we're not talking about some what do you call it? Sectarian God.
No.
We're talking about source.
Yes,
whatever
source.
that is that creates everything and every one of us.
Exactly.
I just say that because without that clarification, people might think, "Oh, is this guy a religious nut or something?" And it's. I think we've all matured through our own process to get to the place of realizing that whatever God is, it's not something you can write about in a book and actually get it. You have to experience it.
Early on, I was exposed to a lot of different books, and one of the books I remember really impacted me was Psycho-Cybernetics.
That's a great book.
Psycho-Cybernetics.
Maxwell Maltz,
man. If you get one thing, is that if you can realize how the subconscious and the conscious mind works,
yes,
and putting that thought process out there, and constantly thinking about that thought process, and then letting it go back there, the answers come.
Yes,
and I can say everywhere along our way, the answers have come.
The other book that really helped me a lot was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah. That there's a guy that, in a lot of ways, he reminds me of you, because he was very passionate about what he brought to the world. And I think, God, that book must have touched millions and millions of people. And it was interesting because when I first met Penny, the first time I went to her house in New Zealand where she lived, and I walked into her living room. On her bookshelf, she had almost every book that she was studying and reading. I had too.
Oh.
And her and I were both studying Napoleon Hill's great big thick home study course or whatever it was, but it's like, 600 pages in a leather-bound book, like a, $50 book type thing. And I really think that I think it's really important for people to find wise people to study. It's one of the paradoxes of the world today is the wise people hardly get any airtime, and the morons seem to just be flooding the airways all the time.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
It's just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
We have geniuses all around us. You know, if one of the saving graces for me is Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra, because Deepak Chopra is such an intelligent man, and with his credentials as a medical doctor, was able to actually penetrate the media in a way that most people with mystical wisdom have never been able to do. I think he paved the way for a lot of people, but still to this day, I look around and see who people are following and who's getting all the views on the various media outlets. And it's almost always people with just the most shallow, silly garbage. And I'm like, you guys really need to find the wisdom keepers, because they're out there. But it just baffles me how our culture seems to be crumbling into the mental equivalent of fast food.
Yep, they want it quick and shallow.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just like, I just want to tear open the package and be smart and not have to do any work.
Yeah.
And I don't want
agree.
any pain, and I don't want to have to go through the hard knocks of life. I just want to be famous and rich and not do anything.
Yeah. But, isn't real wisdom when you look at like Eckhart Tolle and you look at, a simple statement that says whatever you can believe in and whatever the
you can
mind
conceive
and believe, you
can
can achieve.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty simple, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
But it's very difficult for people to do
Yes.
because they can't let go of that whole ego thing. And like you say, the morons out there that are spewing this stuff, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Makes me concerned for the
Oh,
world.
big concern.
Yeah.
Big concern. On one hand, on the other hand, I think there's more awareness coming too, though. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot more people that are becoming aware of these things.
Yes.
And
I was greatly relieved several years ago. I don't know if you remember this, but Eckhart Tolle partnered up with Oprah Winfrey, and he did a online workshop that Oprah Winfrey marketed. They had 7 million people sign up for it. I would have to say that was probably the biggest spiritual gathering in history up to that point. And so I said to Penny, that is a miracle. The fact that 7 million people want to hear Eckhart Tolle speak means there is hope for humanity.
yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
look at the difficulty though of people understanding what he's saying. A simple thing like everything is in the now. Everything is like right here and now. I mean, it's not anywhere else.
No. Well, look, I'm a guy that's been telling people, drink clean water, eat real food, move your body, and make sure you get enough sleep or nothing else is going to matter. And
Exactly.
I still
Exactly.
am having a hard time getting them. It's like, and it's always funny too, because some people will come up to me and say, I've been studying your stuff for years, and it was only recently that I finally got the message. I go, what do you mean? Well, I got really sick and I realized I better pay attention to what Paul's been telling me all these years. So I started doing what you taught me to do, and I feel better than ever. And I don't know what took me so long. And I said, well, neither do I.
Life's a process.
It is a
It's a process. And wherever you're at it, enjoy it, I guess, is the key.
Yes. And I've when I teach my students in the advanced training programs, I show them that one of the problems our culture has as a culture is the Western materialistic mindset has educated people into a way of looking at life that is very, very dangerous, because our culture has taught people, largely through marketing, if you put this much in, you'll get that much out. So think of people selling you stocks and what? If you invest $10,000, in 10 years, you're going to have, call it $100,000. So that's the X in equals Y out model. But I always remind them, there's a philosopher named Hegel, and he was very wise. And he said, life unfolds this way. First, you have a thesis. Then you meet the antithesis. And then you go into synthesis. And the synthesis phase is the harvest phase. But what we have is thesis, I'm going to invest this much money, and synthesis, which skips the antithesis, which we call process. I've got a widget. This is going to change the world, a magic toothbrush, let's say. I'm going to invest $50,000 and make $50 million. Well, the next thing you know, you find out that they're breaking in people's mouths, or you use the wrong materials, or people are suing you, or some kid swallowed one and now they're suing you for millions of dollars. I said, that's the process, right? Yeah. You think, all I got to do is eat some food and go to the gym and I'm going to be a bodybuilder, right? But you forget, you got to break all the habits that stopped you from doing that for the last 10 years. Point being is, our culture somehow got conditioned into believing, probably by marketing, all you got to do is this and you're always going to get that. But that knocks the process out. And the process is where the behavioral change has to happen. The process is where the commitment has to be at. And the process is where the surprises come. And the process is where you live this thing called life.
Yep. And
our culture has not figured out yet that no matter what they tell you on any marketing piece, there will be a process involved, right? For example, if you look at statistics on infomercial purchases, because I've looked into this. Research shows that 98% of all exercise devices bought on the internet are only used for 2 weeks, and then they're put in the closet and never used again. And so there's the dream that never gets fulfilled because they avoid the process of doing the exercise. And I think for those of you listening, don't forget the process, because if you don't go through the process, you actually aren't alive.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Jesse told me you guys got some fantastic new exciting release he was going to announce here on the podcast today. What was it?
A new exciting what?
He said there was a new announcement from Total Gym, something he was all excited about.
Ooh,
Was it
wow.
a new piece of equipment or something?
Well, the rower's a new piece of equipment, although we are working on a hover cycle.
Hover cycle.
Hover cycle.
Maybe that's what it was.
It could be. It could be.
What is
well,
it?
you know, we're pure to our incline plane.
Yeah.
So everything we do.
Yeah.
Even the Elevate line, which is individual pieces of equipment. There's something. Okay, so here's a strategy. So we're just running into all kinds of roadblocks in the health club market, mainly because of the main benefit of Total Gym, versatility. Too much versatility in the health club environment is no good. You got to get on one piece of equipment and do one thing, and then go to another piece.
Yeah.
To stay on one piece and do 20 exercises doesn't register. So we said, well, wait a minute. Why don't we look at the Total Gym as a loaf of bread and start slicing off machines?
Right.
Pull-up machine, press machine, jump machine, different.
That's exactly what
Elevate.
Free Motion did.
Yeah, called Elevate. Opens up the whole plethora.
So that was probably what it was.
But then we have another product coming. Well, the rower you saw, which is a eccentric concentric
incline
rower, which is awesome. We're coming with a hover cycle. I shouldn't really say anything about this, but anyway, it's true to our DNA. It'll be a pedaling device where you have to hold the sled dynamically.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, really fun.
Because that makes you have
Really
to pay
fun.
attention to what you're doing.
It does, and it kicks your butt.
Good.
Really cool. So that's the next kind of thing coming down the road.
Well, if it kicks it probably lifts it.
It does lift it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
So well, gravity does have a tendency to want to sag in that thing, man, as we get older.
Well, let's just use gravity to create levity.
Exactly. There you go.
That's being smart about
There
it.
you go.
What do you see Total Gym's offering being over the next 5 to 10 years? What might change, or what do you look when you look into your crystal ball? What do you think your evolution is going to be?
I think our evolution is going to be in the area of content.
Yeah.
And getting that content out. That's a big deal right now in the fitness market. Everybody wants to turn on the TV and follow a trainer.
Right.
And we do. We have what's called TotalGym.tv.
Oh, good.
Which is our delivery system.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, we got a free side and a subscription side. So you can go on. Everybody that buys a Total Gym goes on the free side.
Oh, great.
Tons of, your videos might even be up there. I should check. And then there's a subscription side where we get into a little more sophisticated, dynamic type of workouts.
And do you have like trainers and people guiding them?
Yeah. Which we train. We make sure we train them.
Well, you'd have
and
to,
you have to do that. So I think that's going to be a big area. And I think the biggest area and the biggest challenge that we've always had, and that is to really get the pure message of the product out there and how it can benefit. And I always like to look at that lifeline. Wherever you are in that lifeline, I think you can get a lot of value out of our product.
Yeah, that's one of the unique things about it, is it does work from childhood all the way up.
Sure.
I think it's great for kids too, because especially in a COVID environment where kids aren't getting to playgrounds and things like that.
Brutal.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned the fact that most infomercial products end up in the closet. And what's interesting is we do a study about every 5 years, and we find that about 78% of our products are still in use.
That's great.
People
That's
use
amazing.
them. They use them. And I've talked to a lot of customers, and if I look at a customer that's had a product, has had a Total Gym for 10 plus years, they'll be very honest with you. They'll say, you know what, Tom? It's the one piece I use most of the time.
Yes.
Sometimes I get away from it. I do nothing, or I get off into this. But for the most part, it's the thread that's there, and I use that product over a long period of time, which is great.
Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to announce Symbiotica's new activated charcoal product. I've been using activated charcoal clinically for many years to help people with things like food poisoning or any kind of significant detoxification issue, but I wanted Sherveen, who formulated the product, to tell us really what's going on with this new product so you know exactly how and why you can use it.
Charcoal is a carbon. It's sequestered carbon, negative electrons. We want that in our body. And I wanted to think outside the box. We've been using charcoal for the last 10, 15 years over on the island. We actually make it through our fire and through our coconut shells. We decided to use coconut shells for this product, and it's in a Myron glass bottle, and it's with liposomes. That is something different. We don't see that on the market. So it's something that you can use. You can put it in your bag. You can carry it with you. And if you eat food that causes a little bit of distress, or you have gas or bloating or anything like that, here comes the charcoal, easy access, and boom, you have alleviation right in your stomach.
And then you were mentioning too that it's great for the beautification process, because so many people don't realize that if your body has more toxins than you can eliminate through urine or feces, it'll come out through your skin. And that's what a lot of people's skin problems are. They don't realize, and they keep buying all sorts of topical creams. But this product will help detoxify you from the inside, which will help you beautify your body, correct?
100%. We're in a toxin-burdened world. Our organs are taking on so much. You see people with skin rashes, eczema, acne. What is that? That's toxins that the liver couldn't deal with, that the lymphatic system couldn't deal with. Charcoal comes right in there, does the job. It's an adsorber, so it pulls those toxins in, holds onto them, and you excrete them out.
That's beautiful. If you want to get your activated charcoal product, go to cymbiotика.com, and on checkout, use the code capital C, capital H, capital E, capital K, 15. And while you're there, look at all their products. They have amazing products. I use them all. I love them. They taste great. They feel great, and they work great. And by the way, a liposomal product means that it's wrapped in fat, so it goes through your body more easily. Your body treats it as a food, not as a drug or anything else, which makes it more bioavailable. So enjoy your new Symbiotica activated charcoal. Symbiotica.com, capital C, capital H, capital E, capital K, 15 on checkout. One of the things I like about the Total Gym and the construct of it is you can actually get on it and bang out a set of torso rotations, pec flies, squats, jumps, and walk out of the bedroom. And then when you pass through to go to the toilet, you can do another set. It's not like there's any real fancy dancy setup or anything. You can just get on and play with it. It's so easy.
Yep. I do about a 20 to 25 minute workout on it. Nonstop. I don't know. One exercise to the next, nonstop, which is great because my mind, I could never sit on a spinning bike and spin for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Or on a treadmill. I can't do that kind of stuff. I've got to have that variety.
Yeah.
So I'll warm up on the rower. I'll do 3, and you can do different exercises on the rower. Get on the Total Gym, go through, and you figure in 20 minutes, if I'm doing an exercise for 30 or 40 seconds?
Yeah.
That's a lot of different exercises.
It is, yeah.
And there's no boredom in the fact that I'm just going to do one thing.
Yes. You're what I call the cat type. I teach my students exercisers in general can be broken into 2 groups, cats and salamanders.
Okay.
Cats, you have to change their program quite frequently and keep it interesting, or they won't follow the program. They'll just go off and do their own thing. Salamanders, if you change their program as frequently as a cat, they get irritated because they were just getting comfortable with the exercise and getting their groove, and you took it away from them. So
exactly.
They need their programs changed about every 6 weeks, but cats every 3 to 4 weeks, or they get bored and you got to throw a lot more variety at them. So you're in my cat. I'm a cat too.
Meow.
Yeah. You throw us in the air, we always land on our feet. You throw a salamander in the air and it lands on its head.
God.
But let's not throw salamanders in the air. No, it's just a different, there's different personality types. And
exactly.
Some people don't like change. They just like, give me my routine and leave me alone and I'll do it.
Yeah, but they don't understand that's where the growth comes from.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Crazy.
I was flying somewhere in an airplane one time and I met this guy was sitting next to me, and I don't know, people always figure out I'm doing something with exercise or health. They seem to have a radar for me everywhere I go. So I get on the airplane. Next thing you know, by the time I get off, I've written health programs and exercise programs for all the flight attendants and half the people around me. But this guy was a fireman, and I can't remember what started the conversation. And maybe it was just because I was in really good shape or something. He goes, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I own an institute that teaches health and exercise." So we got started talking. And he goes, "Well, yeah, I really like exercise. He says, I lift weights, but he says, I haven't been getting any results for a long time. And I said, well, are you training? He said, oh, yeah, I train 3 times a week. So I said, well, when's the last time you got your program updated?
Yeah.
He says, oh, I've been on this program for 10 years. I said, well, that's why it doesn't work anymore. So I explained to him how the body adapts, right? And I said, well, you need to change that program at least every 4 weeks at minimum, or your body will flatline. It'll think, I know this. I explained to him how the body adapts to every stress. So you get more and more efficient. So if you don't keep changing the exercise, and I told him all you got to do is change the angle of the cable 15 degrees and your body thinks it's a new exercise.
There you go.
You know, whatever you're doing, if you don't know anything else, just change it in some way. Bend your torso forward. Instead of doing biceps curls standing, bend to a 45-degree angle, changes the angle of the shoulder, the angle of the elbow, and the brain thinks, oh, a new exercise.
Yep.
I said, you just got to keep stimulating the body or it becomes super efficient because we're designed to use minimum energy and minimum resources in nature because we didn't know when our next meal was going to come from. So the body operates on what's called the MEN system, minimal electrical neuromuscular stimulation, and the SAID principle, specific adaptation to demand. So if you don't change the environment, then the body just learns how to be like, you go from being a hot rod, very inefficient, to being a Honda Civic. But really, most people that are exercising want to burn fat and stay lean, so they need to be more like a hot rod and burn a lot of fuel. And the way you turn on the hot rod thing is you keep tricking the body into thinking it's got to learn something new.
But see, that's the simplicity that people don't get. They want the complexity. I mean, it's like, it can't be that simple. Like you say, it can't be that simple just to change the angle of my arms or, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But it is.
It actually, scientifically, if you change the angle 15 degrees, your brain thinks it's a new exercise.
Wow.
The carryover is 15 degrees to either side of the joint.
Interesting.
And that research was initially done by George Davies, who was the guy that developed isokinetics.
Sure. Yeah.
But funny enough, they invented machines that you cannot. I'm reading his literature. I'm going, well, if you know this, then why did you develop all this one-axis machinery? It doesn't make any sense. But you see this in academia all the time. I would have doctors and therapists on professional sports teams go, where the hell did you learn all this stuff? And I say, your journals. What happened to you? Because I'm studying your journals. But what happens, people get a mindset. And then they stop. They get out of college or whatever. They think that's it. I know everything now. And they stop learning.
Yeah.
So they don't even read their own journals. So they don't realize their own field is advancing quite a lot, which happens a lot. So, Tom, what a great conversation. It's so nice to get you to show you my new place. And
yeah, this is awesome.
I love it.
It's awesome.
It's fun out here. It's so you wouldn't even know COVID's going on out here. You really wouldn't. When the girls leave and have to go shopping, then they got to put on masks, and the kids, they know something's up. But sort of the biggest challenge for us is that Mana hasn't been able to go to school, and he's really missing the social interaction.
Yeah, that's a big challenge right now. Certain kids, and it's been a year. That's what's unreal.
That's for a 5-year-old, that's 20% of their life.
What do you think people would have thought if last February they would have said, we're going to shut everything down for a year?
They probably would have been scared
to
rebellion.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It was, most people like me would have thought, you're going to destroy the entire financial fabric of this country. And
well, they almost have.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I read a book. All right. I went through a course about 6 years ago, and these were forecasters, very, very successful forecasters. And they were saying that, big downturn roughly between 2025 and 2035. And the one big criteria is once we pass that $30 trillion in debt, which we have passed, there's no way to sustain.
Come back out of it.
How do you pay the interest on that? Interest rates, well, we're getting into politics, but interest rates are suppressed right now, 1% or less for, commercial borrowing.
Yeah.
Well, if that interest rate went to 3%, what's 3 times 30 trillion? It's $3 trillion a year just in interest payments. It's a whole budget. Doesn't happen. Can't happen. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's beside the point.
Well, yeah, it's part of the life process and part of the waking up process. And I think that some of these establishments need to fall, unfortunately, like the big banking manipulative stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that needs to come down to its knees. And I think COVID's really a great time for people to wake up and say, what is sustainable and what really makes the country work and what makes us part of a world community. And I think ultimately my dream is that we all realize we need each other and how important health is and how linked our health is to the health of our environment, and how what's damaged our environment is large corporations trying to give us products that so-called make our life easier but destroy the environment. And ultimately, I don't think you can take a concept like COVID and look at it effectively without looking at how does the health of the environment impact the health of the people and set you up for not only problems with COVID, but any number of a wide variety of disease conditions or pandemic type conditions. And the other thing is we've created an economical environment where people have been so preyed on by predatory lending and are so comfortable overspending with credit cards that people actually have to work themselves so hard just to keep their head above water. They don't have a lifestyle that allows them time to exercise. They basically burn themselves out, come home, medicate themselves with alcohol and television, don't get enough sleep, don't eat good food, have their values confused. They drive $50,000 cars but eat crap food. So
it's all mixed up.
Yeah, it's like it's almost as though capitalism pushed things too far. You understand what I mean by that?
Sure.
Yeah, capitalism and consumerism. And we've developed a whole culture who actually believes that all you got to do to fix a problem is just get the right pill. Whatever it is, there's some drink or some pill that'll fix it. And I think that's one of the reasons that we have so much chronic disease and so many, children with clogged arteries at birth and 2 years of age. I read in medical journals cases of cardiac problems and clogged arteries, arteriosclerosis in 2-year-olds. And I'm like, how do you do that unless the offspring are coming from parents that are already so sick they don't have the vitality and the resources to produce a healthy child in the beginning?
You wonder why is there an interest out there from governments to keep people sick?
Of course.
That's
it's called it's called the medical industry.
Exactly.
It's not a healthcare industry, it's a disease maintenance industry.
And I've often said, people say, well, we're going to have an economic downturn. I said, well, the one value of an economic downturn, I think, is people they'll lose their car. They might lose their job. Yeah. They don't want to lose their health. So in a way, it is a good impetus that gets people involved in a healthier lifestyle, which I think is what we're experiencing now. So it's not all bad.
Yeah, no, and the lockdown, by all scientific accounts, has been part of the problem because the countries that didn't do that, like Sweden, were much better off. But I think that people now have an opportunity to realize that things like Total Gym and simple apparatus, a medicine ball. I mean, me and you have a long history of medicine balls. It's the simple things. And, you can be fit. I mean, when I was a young man and I was a boxer, most of my training was medicine balls, jump rope, running, and bag work. That was the bulk of it. I did weightlifting, but comparatively speaking, the grand majority of it was the stuff I could do in any rooms anywhere, right? I could do it in a living room. I could do it in a big closet practically. And I think I think we've got an environment now where people have time to say, okay, I might as well do something. If it's push-ups or, just standing squats or investing in a Total Gym. And I think now's a good time. It's been a while because I always bought the high-end Total Gyms for medical work. What is an investment in a Total Gym?
Oh, we have models anywhere from $350 to $5,000.
Yeah, so that would be like the Power Tower.
Power Tower.
Yeah, that's the one that I was using for years and years.
So we accommodate all levels of financing, which is great. And the nice thing about it is it's kind of funny because, they're all as functional as they're just limited in weight bearing or accessories or whatever, but some people drive a Volkswagen and some people drive a Mercedes.
Yeah.
They both get you to the same place.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. No, but I always tell people, nobody judges the bus when you get to heaven. Meaning, God doesn't care how you get there as long as you get there. You can come in a rickshaw, horse, donkey, walk. It's all good.
Amen. Amen.
In other words, however you get yourself healthy, as long as it's moving you in the right direction, you're all right.
So here's a question for you. So what do you think of the awareness thing? What do you think? Do you think there is an awareness revolution happening right now? Do you think more people are working towards becoming more aware, getting rid of that ego and, getting more connected to source?
I think we have more legitimate meditation, spiritual teachers. I think we have enough books and enough teachers. And because of the internet, people are able to find people and connect to the person on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. So, like if you were to walk into a bookstore 15 or 20 years ago and see an Eckhart Tolle book, let's say, you wouldn't know who the hell the guy was.
Would mean nothing.
It wouldn't mean anything to you.
No.
It would just be a bundle of paper. But now you can think, okay, well, who is this guy? This is sort of interesting, so I heard someone talking about Eckhart Tolle, and in 10 seconds you can actually see him talking and go, wow, this is profound wisdom, So because the gap, the distance between the information and the personality is shut down to pretty much your phone now, you can actually get a sense of if the person is sharing energy and information that would be something that you would want to embody.
It would impact your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that's causing a rapid acceleration. One of the things that has been involved in the rebirth and revitalization of the Chek Institute that I hear constantly, and so does my staff, Paul Chek has been around for most of my life, and he's still in business when most of these other guys that were telling us all this great stuff are gone. And I've got young guys like, Sean O'Malley, one of the best kickboxers in the world, and his trainer, Tim Welsh, and many others going, we want to be like Paul. He's an old man, but he can kick our ass. This guy's in shape. You should see the shit he does, So when people keep seeing that I've endured the test of time and I'm not falling apart, it makes them realize whatever Paul's teaching is working, because look at him,
Sure. But the big thing, Paul, with you is the fact that I can remember what people would say about you.
They still say shit.
Well, not like they used to, but and I would find myself, saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about, And on one hand, on the other hand, I was thinking, if I get too close to Paul, then they're not going to like me.
Yeah, probably.
Well, that's bull. I know, because I knew what you were saying was right, but oh my God, I mean, it's you remember the olden days. Well, maybe you still get it. I don't know.
Well, it just changes.
Yeah,
it just changes. For example, when one of my friends turned me on to these Tai Chi style pants, so I started wearing those instead of standard pants or the kind of old style pants I used to wear, like gym pants, right?
Sure.
And then I was getting flooded. The Insta was getting flooded. Paul's turned into a hippie. Then when my soul guided me into being a vegetarian for a year. Then they said, oh God, Paul's a nutcase, and now he's a vegan vegetarian wimp, and we're not going to follow him anymore. And they said he's going against everything he taught us. I said, I'm not going against anything I taught you. I taught you to listen to your inner voice, your soul.
Exactly.
And listen and do whatever that is. And I said, if my soul tells me to eat as a vegetarian, I listen, because I've chosen to listen to the higher self, not the ego. And I'm not driven by other people's opinions. I'm driven by what the deepest part of me says, because that's what kept me alive through the toughest times of my life. And, then when I had 2 wives, now I'm a cult leader and that shit.
But that's the whole awareness thing, isn't it? I mean, you got to be aware of what's inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
because that's the only thing.
I just honor it.
Yeah, you have to.
I honor it. I found out what happens when you don't listen to that, and it ain't pretty. It's a painful road that ends up in broken marriages, broken businesses, broken bodies, broken souls.
Yep.
And lots of drug use. And
I also think people realize that that the more you can get out of yourself and pay attention, give as much as you can to other people.
Yes. I honestly think that that's one of the most important hallmarks of spiritual people. Spiritual people feel most alive when they're giving. And supporting other people.
Amen. Yep.
Oftentimes, people that call themselves religious keep that function only to their group. We'll help Christians, but we won't help Muslims.
Yeah.
We'll go to war with the Muslims. Well, you sure as hell aren't going to give them a handout if they're in trouble. But spiritual people see God in everyone and see God in nature.
Everything.
So
exactly.
That's where we have to get to, or we're going to implode everything.
And that might not happen in our lifetime, but who knows?
It might not. Although we are playing with fire.
For sure.
We are playing with fire. I've cited this information. I'll share a fact for you that most people aren't aware of. I did an interview, and I became friends with Dave Murphy, who's the founder of Food Democracy Now!, which was the first. Food Democracy Now! Is to make the public aware of threats to the food supply, such as the use of Roundup and chemicals and things that they need to know about because it's affecting their health and their life. So they were the first one to sue Monsanto for basically damaging people's health and win the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. And he is connected to all sorts of scientists all over the world. And he sent me a research paper that was published by a group of entomologists. Entomologists study insects. Sure. And an entomologist, I can't remember how many years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, started noticing that in his research, bug traffic was dropping lower and lower and lower. So it got him a bit concerned because bugs are the sex organs of this planet. They're the pollinators. So he got so concerned, he coordinated a research effort with entomologists all over the world to monitor bug traffic. And then when they calculated out what the drop in bug traffic was, they estimated that in the last 50 years, bug traffic worldwide has dropped 75%. Oof. And the title of the paper was Armageddon May Be Near. Because once we reach a critical low level of insects, then we won't pollinate, and we're losing bees at a very alarming rate right now. And Steiner said there's two things human life depends on, bees and trees, and when they reach a critically low level, life will cease to exist as you know it. And all of this is tracked right back to two things: farming chemicals and electromagnetic pollution, mostly farming chemicals. So I encourage everybody to remember how you treat nature is everything about how you're treating your future. And we might have good cell phones and cool cars and nanotechnology and all sorts of neat shit, but when there's nothing to eat, it won't matter. Mm-mm. So it's time for us to reorient ourselves. And if you look at the Hopi prophecy, it's pretty telling. The Hopi prophecy is carved into a big stone, and it shows that man gets more and more technologically advanced, but then all of a sudden, the trail, they carved it like a trail, comes to a dead stop. There's just nothing. And there's one branch that goes off, and they show that if we go back to taking care of the earth and living a simple life, then it goes all the way around the rock and continues indefinitely. Mm-hmm. But if we get too far down the line we're on, life ceases to exist.
I think we're already too far down the line.
Well, it's
talk about technology.
It's out of hand.
Yeah,
it is out of hand. But that's why I do what I do. I know I can say that if I die today, and I know you can say this too, we both did our very best to support everybody with everything we had. I don't think you can leave. We're all going to die anyhow. My concern is for the kids. I really just think the kids deserve better than what they're getting.
Yeah, or what they're going to get. Yeah, you're right.
And so I'm just grateful I've taught as many people as I have, and I'm doing my very best, all of us are, to make sure my kids know how to plant. They know the cycles, they know the seasons, they know how seeds work. They know how animals work, so that if worse comes to worse and they find themselves in dire straits, they can
Survive.
figure out how to get some carrots or do whatever. But just to show you how silly technology can be, I was looking through a electronic, I think it was an electronic journal on technology, and it had an article in there that a company had proposed to the U.S. government. They make robots. They tried to sell the U.S. government on billions of robot bees that they could release into nature to do all the pollinizing.
Whoa.
And I'm like, you actually think that a robot bee is going to fill the role of a living creature that has a myriad of interactions with nature that are far beyond anything mechanical? Because I've studied how bees and insects interact, and it's wild. I mean, people have no idea how intricate. Every one of these species has a very specific function and affects a myriad of other things. And I think the great example was that, I don't know, did you ever see that documentary that showed what happened when they put wolves back into Yellowstone Park?
Oh, I heard about that.
It changed the courses of rivers, how trees grew. It changed everything.
Whoa.
Just by letting wolves come back in there.
Wow.
Just one animal.
Yeah.
And it had changes on the whole ecosystem.
Wow.
And so, this is this misguided faith in technologies to think, oh, all we got to do, who cares if we're killing all the bees? We'll just make a bunch of little ones and send them off like drones. I'm like, can you imagine driving down the road in your car and you can drive into a storm of mechanical bees? Your window be smashed and tires popped. It was like,
oh God.
I honestly wonder, like, how did we get so far off of common sense?
That's a good question. Yeah. Was it ever there?
I tell you what, I grew up on a farm and it was there, or you wouldn't have survived. Yeah,
that's true.
If you didn't have common sense, my father would beat it into you. So he made sure you had it installed.
Yeah, well, let's say society as a whole doesn't have much common sense.
No, and that's the paradox is it's not common anymore. We have to start calling it uncommon sense.
Yeah, very rare.
Which is a strange situation. But to sort of wrap up, I've been telling people my whole life, look, you have to deal with the basics. You have to eat real food. You got to take care of your body. You got to have a dream, set realistically achievable goals for yourself, and you got to value rest and sleep. And if you don't get that in place, all you're going to spend your life doing is going from one pain and one trouble to the next.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think people like me and you that are offering people basic solutions, if your body gets healthy, your mind gets healthy. Right? A sick body does not provide a healthy mind. And when your body gets healthier, you have more energy and more vitality. And the more energy and vitality you have, the more naturally creative you become. Because energy does not want to hold still. It wants to make something. It wants to do something. And I mean, look at children, right? I look at my two kids are constantly trying to create new stuff. Constantly. And
kids are creative.
And they got energy, right? But when they run out of energy, because they're not healthy, they're not creative either. And I've watched this over and over again because lots of people consult me about their sick children. Inevitably, they're eating junk and they're watching too much television and they're addicted to video games and they're not exercising. And it's like, there goes the creativity right out the window. Well, Tom, beautiful to visit with you. Thank you for all the contributions you've made to health and exercise. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, thank you, Paul. You've been a major part of our history and our success.
Thank you.
If anybody doubts anything, I just said, well, go talk to Paul. He'll tell you.
Yeah, that's great. Well, lots of love and many blessings to Jesse too, because I know he's taking over more and more, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much running the commercial side of the business.
Yeah, great.
And Joy and I are kind of mainly responsible for content and patents, trademarks, intellectual property, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a lot of work in itself.
Yes, it is.
Yes, I've been down that road. Well, also blessings to all of you Total Gym users out there, and anybody that wants an awesome piece of equipment that has tremendous applications, as you've heard us discussing, that is well used and well tested and will last you a long time. And it's easy to not only put in your house, but it folds up and it doesn't occupy a lot of space. So That's another beautiful thing.
And the damn thing doesn't wear out. That's
Yeah.
another problem we have. But that's okay.
That's a good problem.
That's a
to
good
have.
problem.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Check out Total Gym, totalgym.com, right?
Yep.
Totalgym.com. Lots of stuff there. And you've heard the story. You know it's real, and you've got my endorsement. And I still have Total Gyms to this very day. And hope you guys enjoy it all. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Living 4D with Paul Chek and today's guest, Tom Campanaro. You can visit Total Gym's website at totalgym.com or follow them on Instagram at totalgym1974. That's totalgym1974. Total Gym are offering Paul's listeners 15% off any Total Gym purchase. Simply go to totalgym.com and enter the promo code CHEK2021. That's TOTALGYM.com and the promo code CHEK2021. Follow Paul on Instagram at paul.chek, on Twitter at paulchek, or on his YouTube podcast channel, youtube.com/living4D with Paul Chek. Watch more on Paul's blog at paulcheksblog.com and get your free subscription to Chek videos and more at the Chek Institute's new media site, chekiva.com.